Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for a special edition of Inside the Zone, the Komets home opener this coming Friday. And who better to talk Komets with than Blake Sebring, the beat writer for the News Sentinel. And Blake, we've already got two road games in the books heading into the home opener. A win and a loss, and that win came in overtime down in Dayton. What have we seen so far from the Komets this year?
Well, they're still putting the pieces together. Some of the guys are still struggling to get into game shape. They didn't have that much ice to use this summer, so they're trying to get used to it. And I'll give Coach Shalston's credit. He's not resting anybody. He's throwing them right back out in regular shift, and they're going to either die or get in shape, one of the two. So, I mean, that's going to get better and better. And the kids have really shown a lot of energy so far. There's not a ton of skill there, but you're not asking for that from them. You just want them to give the effort, and they're giving a ton of that.
As far as, that first game goes, Woodard scores late in the third period to force overtime. Then Leo Thomas, who really came on last season, finishes it up with a victory 4-3 over the Gems. Did you see a little bit about that same moxie that this team had in that game, you think?
A little bit, but the ice was so bad that they really couldn't skate. They really had needed to, because the ice was so poor in Dayton. They had a terrible time skating, so they couldn't carry the puck in. So in the third period, they dumped and chased, and they went out and they took it away from the Gems. You could hear Coach Al Sims every time a player touched the puck yelling, "Get it deep" from the bench. And they changed their style of play, and they changed the momentum of the game. Chalk's goal really helped, and I thought Brad McMillan's fight really helped cement the momentum in their favor in the third period.
In your opinion, did they get some of the things righted, even though they lost in the next game to Port Huron 5-4?
No, not yet. I mean, they're still. Some of this you just got to live through. You got to keep playing the veterans till they get in shape, until they're ready to play, and they ask them to play a lot of minutes too. So they're going to get better. The kids are learning their roles. Some of those, you got to remember, the defensive pairings were the first time some of them had played together in a game, so they were getting used to that, and they're still working on the penalty kill stuff that the guys at the end of the year last year took for granted. Like, okay, the puck's there, that means I'm there. They don't have to think about it. These kids are thinking about it, so they got to go over all that some more. And and Nick's got to get used to who's out there with him too, because you don't have Huckalo, you didn't have Bertram for the game and a half last week. Those are two great penalty killers that they didn't have.
When you talk about that penalty kill, they've given up 5 power play goals, most in the IHL. They've given up 16 power play chances, also most in the IHL, and Boucher's faced 74 shots. Again, most in the league. How do you rectify those situations and get things rolling?
Well, you get them in shape. That's part of it. I mean, they're not. The forecheck worked really well in the third period in Dayton. You got to get them up to speed, and you got to just reinforce systems so guys don't think about where they're going. They just go. I think that was part of it. You're playing 6 rookies, and that this stuff's going to happen. It happens on other teams too. They were on the road for the first 2 games. You don't expect to outshoot an opponent on the road, both back-to-back games. That's just not going to happen anymore. I mean, the Komets are good, but that would be great to do that in the first 2 games of the year on the road. That's a little tough to do.
Yeah, you mentioned Bertram being out. They'll likely get him back for this Friday. I was at practice today. It didn't look like he had skated, but it looks like they'll get him back Friday. But Huckalo, on the 30-day IR, we all expected him with that off-season shoulder surgery. How's that going, and what can we expect when he gets back?
He's out there skating every day. I mean, it's some of it. If it was one of those deals like with Bertram, if it was a playoff game, he'd be there. But it's not, so you take your time so it doesn't bug him the rest of the year with all this. That's part of what that is. And plus, they know what Huckalo can bring. But where that really hurts is in the defensive zone, because he's so great there. He's so good at getting in the other team's leading scorer's head, and he's so good at that. And they're missing that right now.
As far as the 30-day IR goes, not only is Huckalo there, but Brandon Warner, kind of a little bit of a surprise, because we know he had the off-season hip surgery, but he looked like and he talked like he was going to be okay to go day 1, but on the 30-day IR. Does that surprise you a little bit that Warner's there?
Yeah, it did. It did surprise me, but I can understand it because it's preventative. Why take a chance with somebody if they're not absolutely 100% when you've got good players around? You don't have to get rid of one then. I think that was the thinking, because I think Brandon's going to be. To me, Brandon should be the most improved player this year. He showed some flashes last year before he got hurt of really stepping up and be a really strong offensive defenseman, and I think he's going to do that again.
Yeah, I think he had 7 goals last year before he shut it down, and only like 3 goals the year before, so he really did play a much bigger role early last season offensively. First periods have been a little bit of an issue for the Komets so far this year. They've been outscored 3-0 and only gotten off, I think, 15 shots in those first periods. How do they get off to a better start?
Well, you got to get them in shape again. I mean, they have the oldest team in the league, And I think that is part of the factor there. Plus, you're playing on the road, home openers. The other teams, they're all jacked up to come out in the first period and really show the large crowd something. And I think that's a factor.